I'm just gonna say I might clip this at the beginning. Everybody rewatch this nigga. Watch this nigga Tone's reactions though. That's that's the highlight of this video, bro. So the Fanatiq show, the whole purpose of this show is to foster discourse and have conversations with human beings who are decent and able to actually contribute towards meaningful understandings around what some of these complex topics. We're living in a world where things are changing. We're interacting with new things, and we're trying to figure out what these things mean and the long-term implications. Today's conversation is about cancel culture. It's specifically about the beast that seems to come for almost every particularly popular figure. We want to talk about holding accountability accountable. It's the concept that, yes, we believe that, yes, it's a great thing that now we're moving forward with accountability and that we're starting to entertain the notion that even powerful people, we can hold them accountable in the court of public opinion and things like that. But I think we can recognize that that accountability should be decent, it should be in order, otherwise we have chaos. And chaotic accountability sounds so irrational to me, I don't even know where to begin. So we're going to discuss this on this panel with the people that I have here. And then we're going to be talking about the Jonathan Majors situation. Pons, once again, is going to be the host / moderator for this Fanatiq panel, and we're going to go ahead and get right on into that.
Starting off with the first question, and we'll just kind of go around, give your general ideas. Remember, we want to try to consider 30 seconds to be a good full answer, a minute to be a long answer, 5 seconds to be a short answer. So kind of getting started with the impact of cancel culture. Quite simply, what is the impact of cancel culture on the entertainment industry? And how has it affected the careers and personal lives of those who have been canceled? So, what is the impact of the cancel culture on the entertainment industry, and how does it affect the personal lives of those who have been canceled? We will save Fanatiq for last. Let's get started with Monty.
Okay. So I think there's a difference, in all honesty, between someone being canceled and then someone being held accountable. And you can very well tell the difference, like when someone is canceling somebody versus when someone is actually holding them accountable, right? So like we know typically, I would say at least, when someone's being canceled, they're usually being just attacked for like who they are rather than like the thing that they did, right? It gets into like how do I say it? Because I really don't like the idea of cancel culture. I really can't really can't stand it. I think it doesn't really do really anything. But again, like I said, big difference between you being canceled and then you being held accountable and held responsible for your actions. In many cases with cancel culture, it's like it's a big nothing burger. Like they're like people that cancel people both on both the right and the left, because it happens everywhere. Both the right and left, regardless of where you fall politically or ideologically, it happens. And I feel like a lot of the times it's just a big nothing burger. Like, oh my God, you're screaming about this like one thing that wasn't even all that. It's not even worth you screaming about, focusing all your time on. But then when someone's like, a serial offender or a serial assaulter or like a murderer or some other shit like that, or they say something that's like really just unsavory, and then we're just calling that out and like, hey, but there's a lot of people that will call that canceling. As for the effect that it has on the entertainment industry, it really, honestly, I feel like it depends on the person and what they did, right? Like Chris Brown was technically canceled, like was like canceled before we had a term for it, like years ago, right? For the way in which his behavior with, I believe, was Rihanna, right? All that shit, right? And the dude's still famous to this day. Same thing with Dave Chappelle, right? And how all the controversies that he got with his latest specials and what have you, and the transphobic shit he was saying, all that shit, right? He's still, regardless of how you feel about that shit, the dude is still famous. He's still selling out seats. He's still, one of the most popular comedians on the planet. Like, whether or not it really honestly depends on the level of fame of the person and then what they did and how society feels about what they did. With, for instance, I'm gonna use Dave Chappelle again. I would agree with the way in which he was talking about a lot of trans people, right, and everything. But the thing about Dave Chappelle, though, is that, and with society and trans people, is that for American society currently, that's a relatively new thing for us. So a lot of people are willing to overlook the fact that he said what he said, right? A lot of people are so willing to overlook that. And there's a lot of people that are like myself, they're like, hey, I like you, Dave, but I just don't agree with what you said here. You know, you're better than this or whatever, right? Like, I'm not canceling Dave Chappelle for that, but I'm going to hold him responsible for what he said that I disliked. And I'm not going to attack him as a person for that. I'm attacking what he said. And there's a difference between those things. I'm sorry, I felt like I talked long enough, but that y'all know me. Somebody else go.
No, you're good. You're good. Okay. All right. And then we will take it over to Tones.
All right, so if 5 seconds was a short response, right, and 30 seconds, what
Shut up.
What
Okay,
was
I have
it?
ADHD.
Nah, but,
I
nah,
have
but
ADHD.
listen, I just wanted to address the elephant in the room. Nah, but honestly
I'm
speaking,
sorry. I'm sorry.
nah, it's all good, man. You straight, you straight. Honestly, I'm not exactly convinced that cancel culture is a thing. I mean, I understand people trying to do witch hunts because of things that people said in 2013 on Twitter, taken completely out of context or something like that, such as Kevin Hart with that Oscar hosted situation where he made a joke and then he had to like apologize and he didn't. Like, all right, he's still doing shows, he's still doing this, doing that. Amber Heard was supposed to be canceled. She's still in Aquaman 2. I don't understand what. I don't know. Like the only person
Really?
that yeah, she's still in Aquaman 2. Like they didn't take her out. Like they filmed it.
Okay, I heard something
After-
different.
Also
Okay,
another movie that she will be starring in that's coming out this year. Yeah.
There you go. See, I mean,
interesting.
cancel culture only works like Monty said, depending on your status, right? Depending on your level of fame and stuff, right? So I'm
Michael
not
Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. I think the only person that cancel culture actually canceled was Chrisette Michelle and Daniel Caesar. Only two people. Everyone else is living, breathing. They're good. Cancel culture is fake.
Dang. All right, Fanatiq. Well, good luck. Good luck topping that one off.
100%. I thought we were gonna have like just complete agreement on this panel, and I'm so thankful that the three people are here. Okay, listen. I'm gonna just say for sure. First off, I think I think I don't know that cancel culture and accountability are not the same thing at times, because there are times where the way we hold someone accountable for something awful is to cancel them by not supporting the things that they're in. And as a collective, that actually is how we accomplish things. It's like a form of boycott in a sense.
Yeah.
So I would say that when it comes to Dave Chappelle was attempted to be canceled. He was just uncancelable because he is the funniest comedian of all time. And I feel like they definitely put him through that machine and they did everything they could, but he decided, I'm going to continue to do the work, funding my own things on my own, using his own power. And that's why he was able to survive the cancel culture. They literally rated his special at 0% on Rotten Tomato when it went on to get a 97% from audiences, because it was incredibly funny, but the media tried their best to dismiss this thing, right?
Wait, did they really try to rate that as
Hold on,
zero on
wait,
Rotten Tomatoes?
we're at openings. We're at openings.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't hear about that. No, continue. I'm sorry.
Okay. Then you have Amber Heard. Take down notes, by the way, if for anything that interests you, and we can obviously go into those things. Okay. Amber Heard, sure, like she's not being canceled, even though we technically canceled her. And I think the reason why she's not being canceled is because we literally refuse to hold women accountable. And I feel like you see that in society all the time, and so we're going to see that she's going to continue to do what she needs to do. Chrisette Michelle, she was canceled to some degree, but she was not as powerful yet. She wasn't as successful yet, so then they were able to do that. We saw Dixie Chicks get canceled, and those people were incredibly whatever. So you're right, it does happen on both the right and the left, and I think. But I think it exists, and you see its existence specifically with those who don't have the power to supersede cancel culture. I've witnessed personal friends within my life. I've witnessed people that I look up to and respect, and have seen the devastating impact of this cancel culture when it's unfounded and ridiculous. And I think that it's really, really problematic. And we're watching it right now with Jonathan Majors, which we'll probably get into later.
Can we define, because we didn't necessarily define what cancel culture is. Can we define that so everyone?
I want to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pons.
No, you're fine. So broadly speaking, okay, and you guys there's going to be disagreement on the minutia, and that's okay. But broadly speaking, when we refer to cancel culture, We're referring to this idea that exists throughout our society, that there can be a social reckoning for something that you can't catch with the law. So if you have this power because you're in Hollywood, you're this bigwig, you pay the police, you pay your friends, you control the movies, you control the money. I'm not saying these people exist, but if you believe that they do exist, then the idea of a cancel culture is we need to have some sort of stick to be able to beat these people with when they do something wrong. And the law isn't going to do it. So there has to be some sort of social reckoning. That's the very general definition.
It's kind of like, we used to exile people from the village. It's kind of what it is, but it's like on the internet, because like the internet is kind of like the village or whatever now. And now when people are being canceled, they're being just kicked out of, like we're saying, like, we don't want you permeating our spaces. We don't want you just being like open and like we as a society no longer claim you. You go away. It's kind of what canceling is. But also, I think we also need to understand that in many cases, and this is what distinguishes, in my opinion, cancel culture from accountability, is that cancel culture is largely reactionary. Meanwhile, accountability is usually more nuanced than cancel culture. At least in my general opinion, cancel culture tends to be a lot more reactionary.
I can agree with that to some degree, but I think sometimes like appropriate reactions are necessary. When someone is doing something that's incredibly harmful or racist or whatever, and I can see people saying, hey, as a reaction, I'm not messing with this person. And I want to point out that cancel culture far exceeds just these things, right? Like when Sky Williams was talking about how he was dealing with the things that he was dealing with, and every time he went to a therapist, and the therapist, as soon as they Googled his name and found out who he was like, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't see you. And it wouldn't help him. Or when people get canceled from internet nonsense and then they can't get a job because the job won't hire them because you're a risk at this point. I mean, one of the panelists here used 2 different accounts specifically on your name because employers will look up your history, and if there was enough nonsense that would impact your personal life, completely disjointed from the internet, right? So you see sponsorships disappear. We see companies literally tarnishing multi-billion-dollar deals with Kanye West over some statements that they feel that he made was inappropriate. So cancel culture is absolutely here. It's just, is it being wielded appropriately? Is it being wielded fairly? And where is the actual accountability for what we're calling accountability?
Well, it's not being wielded fairly, but what exactly, like, all right, it's a whole bunch of groupthink, right? You say something bad about Beyonce, then the Beehive's gonna get you. Look at Carrie Hilson. She upended her whole career because she did a diss track.
Right? There's certain people you can't come for. There's certain people you can't come for, or certain, not even certain people, certain things you can't like. You can't like come for some certain opinions that you are not allowed to have. Like, and not even just with I'm gonna let you finish, Tones, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
I mean, that's good, but I mean, why can't everyone have an opinion? That, all right, no, that's wrong, because everyone can't have an opinion, right? Because some opinions are deemed as wrong to certain people. So I redact what I was about to say. But all right, First Amendment, right? First Amendment, freedom of speech, but that doesn't protect against freedom of consequences. So
right.
So that the cancel culture is basically the mob of consequences. If they feel like you said something wrong, right, or you did something wrong, fairly or unfairly, it's up to the mob to kind of put you in their place, whatever vigilante justice they feel is right for it. I'm not saying if it's right, I'm not saying if it's wrong, but like Fanatiq said, cancel culture does exist, but sometimes it works on people, sometimes it doesn't. We'll see what's going on with Donald Trump. We'll see what's going on with Kanye West. Looks like Adidas is trying to come back, trying to save face. Don't know.
Kanye West put a Jeezy store. He just opened up a Jeezy's office. Yeezy's office, excuse me, directly next door to Adidas,
which is ridiculous. I saw.
He's too powerful. Also, you can't cancel him.
Also, what I'm about to say, it kind of matters who's on your side, right? Because I saw the situation with Ezra Miller. WB's backing him. I don't know how, like, for real this is, but I saw someone from WB, or at least there was a report. It might have been bullshit. It might have been shenanigans, but someone from WB allegedly said you watch The Flash, you're gonna forget all about Ezra Miller, what he did. If you watch The Flash, you're gonna the movie's so good, you're gonna forget about what he did.
I'm looking that up.
That's what they said.
So fire, you gonna forget this guy beat the shit out of somebody. Like
they said you're gonna forget about it. I don't know if it's real, I don't know if it's not real. But yeah, I mean you see, I don't see anything about Ezra Miller online anymore on CNN. I don't see that shit. Like what do you do?
You also gotta you also gotta understand like people. I don't want to talk about it in this way, but like people can have like short attention spans, you know? Like there's one thing that's like, well, there's one really, we all know this from Twitter, right? There's one really big thing that everybody's focused on, and they're focused on that one thing. And then all of a sudden, like another thing happens. Like first it was Kanye with the shit he was saying and everything. Then it moved on to, I think it was what? After that, it was the Trump indictment or some shit like that, right? And then from that, it went on to some other shit or whatever. And now we're on, what are we on right now? I think we're back to the Trump indictment and shit now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really just depends on like the person and like who they are and how much notoriety they have. Because remember, like Michael Jackson, right? Still, after I remember, I have never seen a eulogy or a funeral like that in my entire life. That man, people called him a sex offender. People said he was a bad babysitter, all this shit. I don't know. I was really young when all that shit happened. I think I was maybe in the 8th or 9th grade when he died. Like, yeah. I forget how old I was when he died, because it feels like it was ages ago, right? But like, even after all that shit that happened, when they were laying that man to rest on like the world stage, they still titled him the King of Hip Hop.
You know what? No,
after all that
King
shit.
of Pop. But let me explain why.
King of Pop, yeah, King of Pop.
But let's explain why. Because there's no evidence that Michael Jackson did the things that they claimed that he did. And I feel like it's the same thing that we keep running into, where we have these cases where cancel culture is a thing, but cancel culture isn't being fairly like distributed, if you will.
But the thing I want to say though is, if because I don't know about everything about the Michael Jackson allegations because I was really young then, right? Mm-hmm. What my point that I'm trying to make here is, even if they were true, considering our current culture and how we value and so considering how we value the presence of celebrities and famous people and everything, even though all this shit was true, would it really matter? I don't think it would.
Yes,
I think even at the end of the day, they would have still had the same because of who he is.
So okay, so let me
give him down as a king of pop.
No, he wouldn't have, and let me explain why.
You don't think so?
No, because we can see like time after time after time, whenever we see these black people who are canceled unfairly for situations that they didn't do, and we see it like impact them on a regular basis. I mean, now listen, we're not gonna get into the weeds of this, okay? I'm gonna just mention a few, and if you feel some type of way, not you personally, Eli, or anyone else here, but if you feel some type of way, come at me about it, bro. Let's go through some of these people who were canceled unfairly, who didn't do the things that people were accusing them of doing. I'm gonna start with with the attention grabber. O.J. Simpson. Nigga didn't do it. Ain't no evidence that he actually chopped that wife. Now, I believe I know who did that thing, and I think the evidence was there, but nah, that wasn't one.
Yeah, it was there's like a theory that it was like, it was somebody's brother or some shit, right? It was like the relative or some shit, right?
OJ's son. That's who did this.
Yeah, his son.
But okay, so look, so you got that case. Yet still, that dude ended up doing 15 or 20 years or some ludicrous number over armed robbery in which he wasn't the one that possessed the gun, wasn't the one that broke into the door, wasn't the one that punched pistol whipped the person, didn't do any of those things. All he said was, no one is going anywhere till we get to the bottom of this. Had no idea those people were going to be bringing those weapons, had no idea any of the other nonsense that was going to go down. It was later on determined that all of that stuff was legally his, yet he got all of that time for false imprisonment for saying we're not going anywhere until we get to the bottom of this. Excuse me? So that's another case. Michael Jackson, yet another case. Album was #1 literally in every single continent, in every country that it was released in. #1 all around the freaking world. Abysmal sales in the US. Why? Because the cancel culture engine at that time was smearing that black man's image. We got Jonathan Majors, another example right now, where you have a person where there's literally no evidence that he actually did the things. We have counter evidence, we have text messages, we got video evidence proving that this person didn't break their arm, proving the injury wasn't done in that case. Yet once again, you got all of these people, you have his agency working, they canceling product with his name on it, etc. You got Will Smith, where they're literally trying to cancel him over a slap, over a physical slap, a single
Yeah,
attack of another
that
man,
shit.
and then ultimately now we still have everybody
Listen.
trying to disrespect all of his movies. I don't to
Man,
sit there and
cooking.
pretend
No offense
that
to
hold on,
Pons.
I got you. Let me just finish. But to sit
Okay,
here
okay,
and
okay.
pretend, to sit
Oh,
here
no.
and
Go.
I got you. To sit
Go.
here.
Oh no!
Just let me
Let's
finish.
go.
I'm sorry. But to sit here and pretend that somehow Michael Jackson wouldn't have been negatively impacted as if it didn't already happen. And despite the fact that
Yeah,
there were
I guess.
10-year investigations, raids
No.
of this man's house, we've literally seen all of this nonsense, and we got evidence and testimony from the actual supposed victims as adults saying, yo, none of this stuff happened. All of those things, and it's still negatively impacted these people, and we're supposed to believe that it wouldn't have had an impact? That's crazy. That's not living in reality.
I didn't think about it that way.
There
But
you go.
no offense to Pons here, okay? But I do gotta piggyback on the Will Smith situation, okay? All I'm gonna say, and again, no offense to you, Pons, white people in that situation, wildin'. That was just one of them situations where it was a test. Listen, it was a test for white people, and a lot of them failed. It was a test for y'all to see black people shit and see your way out of it. That's what that shit was. We don't need your input in this case. We don't need none of y'all motherfuckers saying like, oh, so he should have shut the fuck up. It was about black men and black women and the defense of black women. That's all this shit was about. All you other motherfuckers that ain't niggas, shut up. Shut up.
Well, hold on though.
Shut.
But Amy Schumer was traumatized by that slap. So I mean, we got to make sure that we're considerate for them too,
Schumer
right?
steals jokes
I mean, she
The
fuck
freak
niggas
was
though,
that?
so she should
Amy
like.
Schumer
she knows
steals
what's going on with
jokes.
nigga shit.
and thought it was
She fuck
okay
niggas.
to make funny jokes and shit with Steven Crowder. So I could give a shit less about what Amy Schumer has to say about two black men having an altercation. When I tell you I could not give a fuck less. Like, oh, I'm traumatized by that slap. I'm traumatized by the fact you stole jokes, bitch. What's up? Like,
I mean, kind of like in counter defense, you ain't gonna be slapping your homie at the fucking lunch table at Walmart though. Like you gonna get fired. So
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're talking about.
depends
but,
on the manager on duty and who I'm
yo,
slapping.
Shout out to Tones for keeping it sane. Keep going.
Yeah, you gotta do nigga shit back at your nigga place. Like you can't do it at your place of employment or like at an award show on the stage in front of all these white people. If you do things in front of white people, you're gonna get white opinions. So
That is true, though. That is
I
very
mean,
true. That is very true.
you know?
That is very true. If you do shit around white people, you're gonna get them white opinions. Sorry, Pons. But if
Speaking
you do
of
shit
white
around white people,
opinions, you know,
you're gonna do.
it feels like the perfect time to start talking. You know,
There you go.
talking about summoning up white opinions. I got an opinion picking up here. So.
Okay, let's go.
You got a white opinion brewing? You got a white opinion brewing over there?
No, let's hope not. Okay, so kind of reeling this back a little bit, talking about what Tones is talking about. There's this concept with cancel culture that sometimes there are these people who have the power to escape what a normal person wouldn't be able to. And the example that Tones brought up is if you're at Walmart and you fight your buddy, you're not going to work there the next day. You're gone.
Yep.
But Will Smith, now granted, he may not be the best example because his career did suffer for the slap for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not out of
A little bit.
Yeah, he's still going to pay his bills. He's still going to get his movie.
He's still fucking rich.
Well, but
and again, I'm not saying that I agree with any of this, but the idea is, for people like that, now let's say you have a person who does something that's actually much worse than, because this is just a little slap that happened on TV. Let's say you have like a famous person who is using their power to funnel 18 to 24-year-old women to themselves that they can then say, if you want to be a part of Hollywood, then you're going to have to sleep with me. Let's say that's something.
Are you talking about Leonardo DiCaprio right now?
No, I'm talking about Harvey. No, it's Harvey Weinstein. Okay.
Oh, that was my second.
A little bit older. Okay.
That was my second
DiCaprio's got a
guess.
few years to go before I'm sure he aspires.
It just seemed very similar. It just seemed. Have you seen his track record? It was very similar.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, with people like that, what would be the argument for or against, based on your opinion? Well, actually, cancel culture is a way to catch those people because it's not like we could fire them. It's not like we can remove them from the position, but we can societally say, all right, we're not going to watch this person's movie. We're not going to buy their product, et cetera, et cetera. What's the argument for and against that?
So that's where I believe that's where that's why I say cancel culture is real, because you'll find like Emancipation did really really poorly. Now also the Hollywood machine was already working against Will Smith. We've seen that since After Earth and previously. They've attacked that family nonstop, right? Because he's a black man and he was literally the second most bankable actor of all time.
After Earth was trash. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Nah, I
After
loved
Earth
it.
was
I loved
not.
it.
Movie. That was a bad movie.
Nah.
Don't do that.
Earth was not.
After
It
Earth
was.
was
Will
alright.
Smith has had a lot of good movies.
Listen,
But After Earth, I'm gonna do it out that one.
Rewatch it as an adult. You'll see. It has all the things that I love. It has the dystopian vibes.
God.
It has the person who has to go all out to make this decision for his own life. You know what I'm saying? He's working against this planet and the system. You know what I mean? I mean, that might have been a little bit of a stretch, but ultimately I like that movie. It was
Everything
nearly
on this planet has evolved. The closest thing that happened, monkeys have 4 arms now. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you watch Elysium that came out at the exact same time, and you tell me that Elysium was that much better than After Earth. Yet some kind of way it came out on the same weekend, and Elysium got all the best ratings on the freaking planet, and After Earth got trashed, right? I don't know. I was sitting through After Earth wondering, why did this movie get such ratings? And then I looked, written and directed by Will. It was, oh, okay, now I know why this happened. But anyway, my point being, look, ultimately, like the idea is we should be able to hold people accountable for things that they've done wrong. The problem is, and this is what I hate about cancel culture, is that most often it is reactionary and it's not reactive to facts, right? So if a person comes to me and can show me this person violated me, I'm going to speak up for that person. I will believe and support any victim. Now, I will not immediately support every alleged victim because some people lie. And when those people lie, that can have a devastating impact on the rest of the country and on the individuals involved. I believe
that's
in
why you
innocent
like-
until proven guilty.
Yeah, and that's why you have to believe, like when supposed victims, like I believe, believe all women, believe all men, believe all victims and shit. Because
I don't
in the
believe that
case,
shit.
hold on. This is why though, because in the case that they're lying, right? Even if they're lying and they're not brought to justice, what does that do to the lives of other people? We all probably know somebody, man or woman, that's been lied on by a partner, by a friend or some shit. Like I have a friend that was lied on by a person. She said he raped her, whatever. He was like, I wasn't even in the same room as her. Like I did not go to jail for that or nothing like that. Like, but because she lied, right? There were a bunch of people, men and women, that hated my friend's guts for that, even though she lied. And that's why we got to believe these people, because we have to then also bring them to justice when they do lie. Not necessarily believe them. We have to take it seriously when they say an allegation, not believe them. Take the allegations seriously. That's what I meant to say. You have to take the allegations seriously.
Right.
Real quick. I have to do this, okay? I see someone in the chat. They said, okay, yeah, Harvey's a dirty mother, but also people make choices on taking the hard road or the easy road to get the roles. No, you got to understand.
No.
That's not how it went down.
That's different, because if you're in a position of, oh my bad, go ahead.
No, real quick, just really quick. When the woman walked in the room and saw that Harvey Weinstein was the person who was going to be interviewing her, at that point her career is already over. There's no there's no oh, you just go and take the no. What you have to understand about the Harvey Weinstein is yes, he's leveraging the sex, but everybody forgets the second part. Is that if any women said no to him, he would go around Hollywood and destroy their reputation and say, don't work with this person. Don't trust this person. They're terrible to work with. It's not, oh, the easy way or the hard way. Yeah. By the time you walk in, your career is already in his hands. I just have to make that real clear. But
it's a straight power dynamic thing is what it is.
Yeah,
it's all it is.
It's a power play, and that's why it's sick. If I just to say that's why I see people saying, "Oh, well, Leo is the same." It's not the same thing. Right. All right, just because we don't. All right, from the outside looking in, it appears as if these women are willingly dating Leo. He's not. I don't see any woman that he's dating in his next movie or anything like that. He's not using his power to fuck these women and then put them in movies, right? And then ruin their life, right? Harvey Weinstein was different because the power dynamic, like Fanatiq said, if you're not fucking with me, you're out of here. You'll never work in this town again. That's why it's creepy. That's why it was sick. And then the Leo thing is sick morally because it's weird to look at a 50-year-old man fuck with a 19-year-old. Yeah, that's sick to some people. It's not illegal. and it's not. He's not using. He might be using his name to fuck with to fuck with women, but if they say no, they say no. They're not gonna. He's not gonna fuck up their life.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying. We just noticed a trend. Hey, yo, they just seem to be under the curve, dog. They seem to be a bit under 30. And you're like 40 or 50. Like, we're just saying, like, yo, what's up? Like,
but I just want to point out though. So then, just making sure that we're consistent here. Then it would seem like we can't. If it once you've known that experience and you've seen that there are plenty of motivations for people to lie, how do you approach things automatically from a basis of? I'm sorry, just to make sure that it's crystal clear, because it sounds like you did walk that back a bit, but just to make sure. So we do recognize then that we don't immediately believe a person, but we immediately take the accusation serious enough to investigate.
Yes, we immediately take the accusation because that's kind of what it means. I feel like it means when we say believe all victims, what have you, is we take those accusations seriously, because in the case that they're not real, in the case that they're not true, you still could do immeasurable damages to other people's lives. Because even after shit comes out and says, and it's like, even after it comes out and it says like you're completely innocent or whatever, there's still gonna be MFs that want to believe you're a sex offender or you abuse men or you abuse women or whatever like that. There's still gonna be people who want to believe that simply because it was brought to them, and that's why it's imperative that we take that shit seriously as soon as we hear it, and then we try to get to the bottom of it as soon as we can.
Investigate.
Not trying to sound like OJ, but
that's what I'm saying.
You got to change your vernacular. It's not believe all victims. It's investigate.
Yeah,
right.
Investigate all situations.
Yes, I don't. I hate for things to get semantical, but I just want to really show you really quick, because I think this is like a very important point, because this was one of the trending like things. This is one of the more associated phrases associated with cancel culture. It's believe all women or believe victims, believe women. And I want you to understand, to believe something is to accept something as true, to feel sure of the truth of. And I can't feel sure of the truth of something or accept it as truth without evidence. Believe all claims cannot be consistent with innocent until proven guilty. Those two things are literally incompatible. And so for me, I believe, yes, we should investigate these things. Here's where the problem comes in. When we start seeing cancel culture wielded against those without power, and it's not using the legal system, if you genuinely feel raped by a man, I don't see a reason why you would create a twitlonger and say, hey, this is what happened. Why wouldn't you go to court? Why wouldn't you take this thing? If you feel confident enough to share it on social media, tell me what the problem is with taking the same exact thing to the authorities and having it dealt with appropriately. Explain that to me in 2023. Well, that's where I have a problem.
I can say from not just from the perspective of women. I'm talking about just people in general, not just women, but also men too that have been abused, what have you. A lot of it is fear that people aren't going to believe you when you tell them. A lot of it is
you did it twit longer. Right. You did it twit longer as to what Fanatiq said.
You mean the whole Twitter thing?
Yeah, because
I can answer that there.
Exactly. There is no answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could probably come with an answer for you, but I have to think about it, and I have to like read like some examples or something. But I can't. I just don't have anything fresh in my mind right now.
People want to have their cake and eat it too. That's the reality. People, as much as everybody will say it, if you give someone the opportunity to feel special or to act special, people are going to do it. When you have an accusation coming out against you,
people want spotlights.
People are watching you. People have their eyes on you. And I'm not saying that people like to have allegations of sexual harassment against them. It's not all fun and games. But when you have the eyes on you and people are asking you questions, you have a degree of power over people's lives. And most people are not capable of just dropping that completely. It's going to affect your brain. It's going to affect what you're saying. And that's where the twitlongers come in.
Yes. And then when you've already been literally conditioned to seek attention on social media and you see it working, and everyone's like literally the thing that we were talking about, even with the business. Yes. We were talking about like the need to like beat the algorithm. Like when it comes to drop shipping, if you're trying to do content creation, the need to beat the algorithm. If you're doing social media, the desire to be at the top so that you like are in people's feeds. All of these things are driving and feeding people's motivations, and we're supposed to believe that there is no connection or correlation between that and the decision to make a twitlonger. What about, and the reason why I see that these things seem so obvious to me is because when cancel culture finally hit the fighting game community and you had all those people coming out with those stories, and we saw example after example of certifiably disprovable false allegations being made by these women trying to attack these men, some good things happened. Mr. Wizard was outed as a gay pedophile. That needed to happen, okay? Like that stuff, that was foul. Give you that. There were other people that were attacked that we were like, ooh, yeah, this seems kind of gross. We had a woman, grown woman sleeping with a 13-year-old boy, right? Or 15, or one that became 15-year-old, right? And that was like, hey, we got a problem here.
And
these
had his
things
kid.
need to be talked about. Oh, no, that
Don't
was not
forget,
the
she
one.
had his kid.
Well, not the one in the fighting game community. That was just a different. This is a different case that happened in the Smash
I thought
community.
with the one that you're talking about too, she had his kid as well.
No,
Like,
she didn't. The senpai
oh,
case.
it was someone else? Okay.
No,
Never mind.
but my point being, you have all of these different things that happened, right? Those were good, okay? But when you see the, like I said, when you see the cases where someone says a person kissed me in a hotel room, or where someone says, yeah, I felt uncomfortable despite having been asked questions and being clarified, like, is this cool? Are you with that? Right? When you have these things where it's like, well, it was, yes, I consented, but later on I regretted it. When you start seeing all of those things and you start saying, what would drive a person to do this? And you know that people are seeking attention in all of those things. Now we have to start questioning.
Sometimes it's not.
I'm gonna wrap it here.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
I
got you.
not going to default to immediate acceptance of the truth. I will default to innocent until proven guilty, and I will investigate the claims, and I will expect you to provide evidence, and I'm going to immediately assume that if your first instinct is to go to Twitlonger and not to go to the authorities, that you have other motivations than justice.
100%.
So I just wanted to say, going along with that, right? With the sorry, my train of thought, ADHD. With people who can you rehash what you said, Fanatiq? Sometimes this happens all the time. The train gets derailed. Can you just rehash
or the middle?
Because the middle. It was towards the middle. It was something you said that I wanted to piggyback on. That made sense.
Freak, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It happens to me all the time.
Did anyone else remember, Tones? You got it? I don't remember. Freak, it was a lot. I'm sorry. It's basically the idea that, like, one, I can't immediately default to belief because obviously I think there's other motivations. Oh, I was talking about like the ridiculousness of some of these stories. I'm sorry, the truth of the fact that certain people were actually pedophiles or actually disgusting people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, a lot of it also, this is with anybody that does any sort of like allegation or what have you, and that it's false, man or woman. In many cases, people will do this simply because, not just that they want attention, but simply because they just want to see another person fall. Like there are people, we all know that there are people out there that are enemies and that just want to see, they're just praying for your downfall. You ain't even got to do shit. They'll just take shit out of the air and just say, yeah, you did this shit or you said this shit or whatever. With everybody, like everybody's got that enemy or whatever that's like just preying on your downfall. So sometimes it's not even necessarily that, like, when people are being vindictive towards somebody and purposefully lying about things, it's not always for attention. Sometimes, I mean, the attention is a bonus, but in many cases it's like revenge. Like they did something beforehand, it maybe wasn't the thing that they're accusing them of now or whatever, or maybe they did them wrong or somewhere they felt like, I need to bring this motherfucker down. And so people, men and women, do this all the fucking time. See, from both of them, where they will just say some wild off the wall shit just because they're praying for MF's downfall. Happens all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and
we underestimate that too. There's a lot of people that do that. They would say, "Oh, you're just doing it for attention." No, this person's out for blood. They want this motherfucker to be banned on everything.
I don't forget that. I've seen it too many times. The FGC canceling situation made it crystal clear. The willingness of everyone, man, and the inability of people to learn. Because look, here's the deal. At the end of the day, jealousy and all that kind of stuff is there. I'm a person, I promise you, I have always done my absolute best to live by my integrity. That's why when like Bozo Gozo started coming and started saying like, yeah, I got stuff on Fanatiq, he did this and that, I told everybody that approached me with that, I said, ask him what those things are. I can say it before he even voices his whatever it is. I can say with 100% certainty, I will be able to explain it to you in a way that you will see 100% I didn't do anything wrong because I know how I live my life. But somehow there's still people that are willing to just immediately believe this nonsense. Like jealousy is a thing. Despite the way I live, people will still come with that. I had a long history of money matches, and you got some liar that would just come up and start saying, "Oh, he didn't pay me his money." I've never done anything like that, even close to that in my entire life. Someone will find an excuse. So with that, if we know that this is the case, how could we possibly automatically approach these things with the idea that I immediately trust you? Look, I'm going for the verification. I'm an investigate. Listen, I don't want to keep beleaguering this, but I'm saying not only just not believing, I don't even think I can go with immediately trust, but verify. Because to trust something is also to accept it as true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily. I think it's more like the sincerity, right? Like what I said earlier about how it's. I think it still falls along the lines of just taking it seriously. Because again, in the case that we don't, and this person's able to just run away with a lie, there's somebody's fucking, we don't take it serious enough to actually investigate and everything. There goes somebody's life that has just been ruined because we were just like, whatever, it's not, it's nothing's gonna come of it. And that happens too. There's a lot of people that you'll say shit to or whatever, and then or that you'll say something like, oh, this person did this, that, and the other, and then people are like, there's some people that are like, whatever, and then there's other people that are like, nah, I believe this shit, like straight up, I believe he did that shit, and then that ruins people's lives and shit. So that's why we all have to like take this shit seriously and be like, okay, where. If you can, or if you're in a correct headspace to provide this evidence, can you provide this evidence? Would it work better if it was just a one-on-one with you and another person? Would you rather do it over video or whatever? Would you like have it with you or something like that? Maybe you don't want to bring it out of the house or something because it's like a tattered shirt. It brings back a memory, whatever the fuck it is. Like, we have to take these people seriously because if we don't, they basically could run away with somebody's life.
Yeah.
Do you trust them? Because I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Tones.
No, I'm sorry, because you're kind of like a little like you're kind of going around in circles. First you say trust them, then don't trust them, then believe them, then don't believe. I just want to know where you stand on that situation.
My whole thing is just take it seriously. Like take it seriously. Don't just dismiss it. Don't just say. You don't always necessarily have to like say, okay, yeah, I believe that this happened, but you have to basically sit there and go, I'm going to take you seriously. I'm going to take your word for it for right now. But if it is proven that you are wrong, there will be consequences because you could, like I said, you could run away with somebody's life.
Just to be clear, there's never those consequences.
That's we don't have those things in place yet, and we need to have those in place.
Yeah,
we legitimately need to have those in place.
We need to change those things. But every time when I start like voicing to people like the idea that there should be greater accountability for false accusations, and I always like posit that maybe it would make more sense to do a 1-to-1. If you were accusing someone of rape, then whatever the maximum punishment for rape is, then that is what should be done to you. Because the chilling effect that has when you come up with a false accusation and you're disproven on other people from wanting to come forward with accusations. Do you know how many people were saying because of the Amber Heard situation that they're afraid to talk about abuse that they're encountering because then people are going to immediately associate them with that obvious white woman that was lying, right? That has an impact on actual victims. Go ahead, Thomas.
All right, Fanatiq, just real quick. I believe you. I'm with you.
I didn't really pay attention to the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation. I was kind of just like,
I believe you. I fuck with you. I trust everything you're saying. I'm with you. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right?
Okay.
If just for the sake, because it seems like everyone here is on the same page, right? Devil's advocate says if there's a 1-to-1 situation, right? And I'm little old lady from Idaho, right? And I'm fucking with Al Pacino, right? Just to throw someone out there. And he rapes me, right? And I accuse him of rape. I go to whoever I need to, I accuse him of rape. But he wins because he has better lawyers, he has more money, he has all of this, so he could just drown me with his litigation. Even though he did 100% rape me, my people couldn't find enough evidence, right? Mm-hmm. What happens in that type of situation? That's why people are scared to come forward.
That's all from people who still don't understand that this would still be within the same scope of innocent until proven guilty. Do you understand why there's so very few cases where we can get someone for what's the thing where you're intentionally lying in court? What's the word for it right now? Perjury. Why are there so few like actual punishments for perjury? The reason is because in order to prove that someone intentionally lied, you need some really good evidence.
Because you can never prove content. You can almost never. You can almost never improve content. Prove content.
It's not that you
or intent. Sorry.
You need a lot of evidence to prove.
Yeah, you do.
And so for this thing, You would have to prove that you knew that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You didn't have any belief, and you knowingly just wanted to do this with evil intent. That's what would be
Right.
required. So simply saying, I'm accusing you, but I don't have enough evidence is not enough evidence to say that I'm falsely accusing you. You would have to have 100% irrefutable evidence that not only did it not happen, but that I knew it didn't happen and I was doing it maliciously. How many times are you going to be able to prove that? That's exceedingly rare. That's what it'd be worse than perjury. It'd be lower than perjury. One, because rape accusations are going to be like significantly less frequent. Secondly, you're going to have the thing that even in those cases, it's almost impossible to prove that you knew that this didn't happen. Maybe in the Michael Jackson case where you have a phone call from the guy saying, give me X amount of money or I'm going to destroy your career. Now you have that evidence, right? Like that might be a case, right? But in reality, like most of these times you would not even know it. Even for the Jonathan Majors case, right? Which we've been avoiding, I'm sorry. But even for that case, when she admits, hey, like, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't your fault, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If she would have to say is, yeah, but my mental health, like I've been taking psychotropic drugs. I genuinely believe he injured me. There's no way to be able to prove it, even here, if it was false.
I think because we're pretty much all in the same kind of area, I'm gonna kind of throw my hat in the ring a little bit here. I think there's two things that I would want to kind of recontextualize about what we're saying. And I think we're all going to agree on this anyway, but I think it's important to just kind of. So the first thing is that we all keep saying that it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And I think we'd all agree. It's not that it's a lot of people. It's that it's a very, very powerful and vocal minority. I don't think that there's a lot of people out there who want to make fake charges for profit. I think that there are exceedingly rare people out there, let's say 1 to 5% of people who have this they have this belief that they can do something like that and that they can get away with it. And the problem is that now we live in this technological age where these people have the same level of social access as everybody else. They're not just ousted from the community as the weirdo anymore. Now they have a Facebook account with 300, 400 followers. Anybody can make an accusation like that. But I think we would all agree that it's a minority of people who are doing it maliciously and to try to, I say profit, but try to benefit in some way from it. But I think we'd all agree that it doesn't matter if it's a lot or a little bit of people. These people have way, way, way too easy of a time being able to do that.
Well,
but I just wanted to recontextualize that.
I agree with you, but the thing is, for me, I'm not sure that it's so few of people. Again, social media, people are liars. People lie on social media.
If you've got 100 random people, well, okay, then I have to be fair. If you took 100 random people who were on social media, how many of them do you think would be capable of something, not to where they like got confused or that they, trauma
of just intentionally lying?
That they're straight up like, I'm doing this, I'm going to destroy this person, seek and destroy. If you took 100 people, how many do you think would be capable of that? I mean, that's what it is.
I got you. I'm going to tell you, if it's trending at the time, 30 to 40% of people.
Wow.
I genuinely think the algorithm.
Where your opinion comes from.
It's basically the idea that it's not about, people aren't doing these things to be original, because I'm telling you, if we just looking at all of the examples within the fighting game community, the sheer volume of false accusations or non-accusations was staggering. Sure. And it was because it was trending and it's a very competitive environment and everybody's trying to make we were talking about it earlier, how people are literally starving and they can't make a living and they're doing everything they can. They've invested everything in there and it's like, hey, this is my opportunity to cash in. And people are just jumping on it. And I saw it happening so commonly. And it was case after case where someone had something and then someone said, actually, guess what? There was one case where some woman made some accusation and the person said, I have literally every interaction I ever had with this person. Here is every screenshot. They immediately deleted their account. We've never heard from that person again. Another person said, yep, this is a story. And the person said, well, here's the actual event as it happened. And here's them admitting that they lied to the person and the reason why they lied, et cetera, et cetera. And then everyone started apologizing. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusion. I shouldn't do it. And then they did it right again to Arturo. Then they did it right again to Chris G. Then they did it right again. And it's just, they just don't stop doing the same thing to infiltration. They just and I don't know infiltration story enough to be able to say that. I'm just saying it was so common. And what I realize is, again, I don't think that everybody is just sitting here lying in wait, just thinking, oh, I'm going to come up with a
Right.
false accusation. I think the
Right.
environment becoming that, where it's like, oh, talking about sexual exploitation is like really profitable and it's trending and it allows you to tell your truth, and everyone believes that their opinion matters because of the Oprah generation. Then at that point, then all these women just start coming forward like, yep, that's it. I'm one too. Me too. Me too.
So then let me ask you this. And this is a question that I'll ask to everybody. If you have a person who is willing to completely fabricate a story, like make fake text messages, fake Discord messages, the whole shebang, okay? They're just going to completely manufacture a controversy. And then you have what we always see in these situations where there's usually one or two of those. And then, like Fanatiq is saying, you have like 10 or 20 people who are like, yep, that happened to me too. I don't have any evidence for it, but it did happen. You see people just kind of jump in on it. Would you, and I'll ask everybody individually, would you consider these things to be equally a sin? So the first one is we're making up completely the fake accusation. And the second one is we see that the fake accusation is being made and we kind of jump on board and say, oh yeah, that happened to me as well. Yeah, it's the exact same story. I can't verify it, but exact same thing. Would we call these things the same or different? Let's start with El Monte or
Okay.
Eli Monte.
Thank you. So, no, I do not think that these things should warrant the. I do not think that these things should warrant a similar punishment, mainly because what we know about people, especially because people are like very social, very group-oriented beings, and we need constant interaction with each other usually. The thing is, people find comfort in something or someone that they can relate to. So if they see that someone is saying, like if women or men, anybody is seeing like, oh, this person, is coming forward about their sexual assault, I'm going to do it too, because I feel like this is a safe space for me to vocalize this and talk about this, actually come forward about it, because this person has opened up the floor for that. And so I feel like I can empathize with this person can empathize with me. So if anything, that makes it, when someone makes a false allegation and it like snowballs like that, and when it start coming out, that makes the allegation, in my opinion, even worse, because now you've got people that are like airing out their I don't want to say dirty laundry, but airing out, their trauma basically under false fucking pretenses, dog. Like that's ass. Like that's so bad. That is so bad. Cause now, and my question to people that do lie about that shit, right? Like when people opening up to you about their very real shit, right? Like, does anything ever cross your mind that like, hey, maybe I should like come clean and say like, actually that didn't happen. I just really hate this person and I wanted to see him die. Like when you do shit like that and you open the door up for people, because then what that does, that makes a reputation for people, not reputation for people. It puts a bad taste in people's mouth when it comes down to opening up to other people. So they're going to meet somebody like myself, like one of my clients on the street is going to meet somebody like myself who they actually can open up to, who it's like, yeah, I'm going to take you seriously and everything. I'm going to like talk to you like a regular person and empathize with you and everything. And like, I can't do that because I've been wrong too many times. I can't open up to you because I've been wrong too many times. I thought I could open up to this person. It turns out that they were just using me to get leverage over another person or what have you, or some other shit like that, right?
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Tones.
Not Tones. I need that. That face said it all. I think I gotta hear that. Like, let's go. Pause.
Let's hear it, Tones.
I need you to reiterate the question because I fucking forgot what we talked. Like, what was the question again?
Listen, I'm sorry. Okay,
let's see if I can manage to remember it myself. Okay.
I'm glad there's only 4 people here right now.
Oh shit!
It's okay. It's
okay.
I need to hear it again though, because Toad's face said everything. That was on me.
Basically, it was: do we feel like those people that come forward when someone's lying, if they should suffer the same consequence?
Well, yeah, you got two. Like I said this morning, you got two. No, you got 2 groups. Okay, group 1 is make fake accusations completely up from scratch. Group 2 is see fake accusation is getting made. You hop on Facebook and say, yep, that shit happened to me too. I don't got any evidence. It's the exact same story. It happened to me though. Would you consider those things to be the same kind of sin? And then, like Monty said, would you want to punish them the same? I know we can't right now, but.
Well, I don't think it's the same kind of sin, but it's very similar. I feel like the person that made up some bullshit just out of thin air, obviously that's like borderline sociopathic tendencies, right? But also the person who is just piggybacking off of someone else's real trauma, right? They're just a follower. Like, you don't have your own brain. You're just like, you're not only are you sociopathic, but you're following the crap. They're both really bad. But they're not they're both similar but different. I don't have really too much to say about that. They're both similar, they're both different, they're both crazy. I don't want to fuck with neither of them.
Did you say like distinction without merit then? Kind of like they're both the same kind of bad?
Yeah,
Like guilt
exactly.
by association.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're both bad, like same different.
Yeah, they're not a huge enough difference to really matter, but you recognize there's a little bit of a difference there.
Exactly.
I need clarification because I wasn't sure if this is what you were saying. Were you saying so the first one was a person who just came up with false pretenses. The second person you said was like telling like whatever happened without any evidence and saying that the same thing happened to them. Is that person lying?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, everyone is lying here. All of these are fake. Person 2, it's not really
they're all
as much.
fake.
Yeah. So sorry. Maybe I wasn't clear. Okay. So person 1 is I make up fake allegations. Person 2 is I see fake allegations. I decide to say, yes, that happened to me as well. That is also fake. It didn't also happen to me as well. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
that's different.
Jumping on
that changes things immensely.
Yeah, they're both.
Got something else to say?
Shut up, bro.
Let's go.
That changes. I would say that changes things immensely for me. Like if they all knew that what they were saying was fake.
Okay. Let's go. Keep going.
No, shut.
No, I'm on the same page, Eli Monty. Like, look, once they're fake, because my thought process. So, first I'm just gonna say like lay it out 100%. I would say that those two people should be punished the exact same. The person who originally came up with the accusation and the other person who lied and said the same thing happened to me. I think it should be that we should treat them the same. But we just need evidence, like that both cases are lying. Yeah. If we got that evidence, cook them both. Both of y'all niggas can burn, because to me, you're literally playing with the person's life. And a great man once said, by the name of Dave Chappelle, taking away someone's livelihood is akin to killing him. And I genuinely think when you come up with an accusation like that, there are few things more heinous than rape. The only thing I could really think of is freaking murder and maybe child molestation, which is another form of rape. So ultimately, you're accusing someone of one of the most heinous and depraved things you could ever do to another human being, and then we're supposed to just take that lightly? I understand why people would distance themselves from someone when they're accused of something like this. I get it, because if you can do something that depraved, then the amount of damage you can do to society is great. It's almost incalculable, because you're not only going to damage that person who may never ever recover, you're going to damage their children, the community around them, etc., etc. So I get why people would want to create that distance. So if you're going to do that falsely, understand the damage you're doing to the person who you're accusing and the damage you're doing to all the other future victims who will now be doubted because of the fact that you did this. Because believe me, there are manosphere niggas out there that are looking for any excuse that they can possibly get to just take a dump on women and don't mind the damage that can be concerned.
Fucking true. So fucking true.
You're damaging the world when you do this, the culture. So now there are other people. Here's where the nuance comes in. There are people who are actual victims who have no evidence, as is very common within these cases. Right. And I think those people should be able to voice that. If you're willing to you're going to face the mob, because people are going to be asking you for that evidence, as they should. And when that evidence doesn't exist, you have to understand you're going to deal with people who are going to say, I don't trust this, I don't believe this, as we always should do when there's no evidence. It is an unfortunate circumstance. When a crime happens and we don't have evidence to verify it, it is unfortunate but necessary that we don't believe in that thing. I'm going to trust.
And then all you do.
Last thing.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Trust but verify applies to the people who are in my life who I have a connected relationship with. Those people get my trust. If someone accused my brother of having raped somebody, my brother tells me he didn't do it, I'm going to trust my brother, but verify. I will immediately accept that as truth, not that it didn't happen, until I can verify, it did happen. Because that's who I trust. Relationship and history and character are where you develop trust. I'm not developing trust from some random online person on the internet who's trying to get fame. Where do I get that trust from? I don't know you. How can I trust you? Trust is earned.
So, and then also, like, we gotta realize that, like, when you do that, right, and you lie about allegations, what about the people that like actually do have like real shit, real allegations, real things that happen to them? Now it's gonna be really hard in many cases for some of these victims, regardless of who you are, regardless of what sex or gender or whatever you are. It's gonna be really hard for you to come forward and talk about this when there's a history of people all over the place that are just lying about, allegation after allegation after allegation. And then if they're lying on a specific person, but then, oh wait, there is a person who this person did hurt, who this person did rape, brutalize, whatever, beat within an inch of their life. Not everybody's going to believe that person. They're not going to get the justice that they need because you lied on that person because you just hate them.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the toughest thing in the world right now, where our society is evolving at a very, very rapid rate, both physically, like with our access to technology, and also esoterically, like we're really evolving with our thoughts and with where we're taking our ideas and our ideals, and I'm happy with all that. I feel like the solution to this is the worst solution ever, which is just that this thing sucks. It sucks, but we kind of need it. Like you have to have a way to take down the Harvey Weinsteins, because those people, the law doesn't give a shit about those people. The law doesn't give a single flying fuck about those people. And
Right.
it's not that the law sucks. It's the way our system's designed. They're on the very top. They get to take advantage of certain things. But at the same time, we have to trust, we have to verify. We also have to, in some ways, trust the mob, which is weird. We have to trust that the mob is going to like review the evidence right. And when everybody decides that someone's guilty, we kind of like have to all go with that, which is very, very strange. You end up in these situations where there's like 10 YouTube videos being made about an accusation, and 5 people are saying X and 5 people are saying Y.
And it's just
It's
this
all coming
huge
down.
rabbit hole of shit that, like,
Yeah, and it's
none
all
of it makes
coming
any
down
sense.
to
Yeah.
like, the thing that Christina said 3
I
weekends
stand
ago
on
to
all
her
of that trauma
boyfriend's
usually.
friend's dog, and you have to like trust that it's true. And it's tough. It's all super
stand up.
niche, but we kind of need it. So it's
Yeah,
a
so-
very
100%.
strange. I don't know what to call it. A very strange.
It's very strange. It's a very strange dichotomy to be caught in, right? Because it's kind of like with, I mean, it's really with like anything that's a tool, be it a gun, be it a wrench or a hammer, whatever. Like, it can be used to cause great harm, but can also be used for good things. Like you use a gun to defend yourself. You use a hammer to, bash somebody's head in or put a nail in the wall.
There's
Like,
a difference here, and that's that a gun is handled by one person, whereas this is always being handled by 7 to 15,000
right.
people.
I'm just
It's not
right, no,
like a gun. It's so much different.
Well,
Even
right.
a hammer is like it's a hammer is something that will always hammer the nail, provided you hit the nail on the head. This is a situation where sometimes we do hit it right on the head, and it still doesn't stick.
I just want to clarify that the point I was making was the fact that like tools can be misused, basically, was what I was trying to get at. Things that we could, there's a two sides to every coin. Like, this can be used to do a really great thing. This can be used for really, really bad things, right? It's just how tools work. And we just got to make sure. I feel like with cancel culture though, and this is kind of like where you were kind of like saying like, well, this is where it's different, Pawns, is that like, it's one versus many. You've got like a mob on one hand, and then meanwhile I'm talking about just one tool on the other hand, right? So yeah.
I mean, it's many versus many, and that's the issue. And it's like a delicate balancing act, because so many things can affect it. You look at situations like Fanatiq with the Arturo situation. To me, I don't see a bunch of people, and I could be wrong. Okay, you know more about this than I do, Fanatiq. It doesn't seem like it's a bunch of people who are immediately out for blood for Arturo. What it seems like what happened is that 2 or 3 dumb people who have no idea what they're talking about got in there first. They expressed their opinion, and this mob, this group mentality, it's like I said, it's such a delicate balancing act. We're trusting but verifying, but we're verifying people who are untrustworthy to verify something that is trustworthy. And you end up with this mess where now you see all these people who are like, oh, I get it. Well, didn't you see all this evidence? And it's like, well, hold on. Did did you even think about this evidence for a second? It's like, well, no. Well, what about the person who told it to you? Did they think about it for a second? Well, I'm not sure. And it's like that's scary because it's like you said, it's a person's life, it's a person's future. It's many versus many, it's many versus one, it's one versus many. It's all these things at the same time. It feels like it's a beast that would never be able to be controlled, but I'm not fully comfortable getting rid of it. That's kind of where I feel on it.
Yeah,
Man, I think.
do want to
go ahead. Oh,
I want to say, I enjoy coming here and talking with y'all. I do have to go get to my wife though, because I've been streaming for a long time and I'm not really going to get to see her tomorrow because that's when she works late. But
Okay.
I do want to go ahead and say, thanks for having me on. Thanks a bunch, Fanatiq. I enjoyed this conversation.
for sure.
I think while some of us disagree on a few things here and there, I think it's still important that we have these open conversations like this. And I honestly, like, compared to a lot of other shows on Twitch poll, like, I thank you, Fanatiq, for doing it in this format where, you know, it's structured even for, you know, what we have, that we didn't have everybody, but, you know, it's still structured and it still had a purpose and this was still a productive conversation, even when people had disagreements and shit. So I thank you so much for that.
For sure.
But I hope you guys don't mind me dipping. I don't mean to, like, I don't mean any ill
no,
will
you're
from,
totally no, of
y'all for
course.
doing it.
The panel's actually only supposed to go till 7:00. We just kind of started late because I was waiting on people and stuff happened. Right?
Nah,
No, it wasn't you. It was actually someone else. But it's fine. Ultimately, it's good. Like, because for me, listen, this conversation is still incredibly productive to me, and I want to say this is the most, like, on my panel, the first time I've ever really raised my voice. To be honest, on the Fanatiq panel, I raise my voice all the time in other stuff, but on this, I'm like really decidedly chill. And I realized that this is something that is so insanely personal to me. When I tell you how many friends I've had that have experienced this, and family members I've had that have experienced this,
we don't talk about it on that level, though. We don't talk about it enough on that level.
Right.
Yeah.
I've encountered these things. So for me, it's incredibly, incredibly passionate because it's like, I know the devastation that comes when it happened to me and I did nothing wrong. The devastation that had on me. I can only imagine when it's even more serious allegations against people that are still standing. That it's damaging. So for me, it's really hard to stay chill. And all these topics come up, you know, and I'm like encountered the OJ stuff and all those things. It just triggered a little bit. But ultimately, bro, I love you for coming and being part of the conversation. Even if we disagree about a lot of these things, the fact that you're willing to have the conversation and being decent about it and not
we can
stuff,
shit like
that
this.
means
Yeah,
everything. I appreciate.
I figured also, and this is part of the reason why I really did not push back on you. A lot of things that I felt like I probably could have was also because of the fact that this was really personal for you. So I wanted to just be here and just support you through that, like, and help you like air your shit out through that and everything. So it was more about that and me just enjoying and having some good vibes than it was me being correct or whatever.
Sure.
But thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and dip. Look forward to the next one. Tones, Ponge, y'all were amazing. Thanks a bunch. Really like meeting y'all. Sorry if I talk too much to the point where y'all don't remember the question. That's the Eli syndrome. That's the Eli syndrome. I'm gonna just coin that. That's the Eli syndrome.
Syndrome. We all a work in progress, bro. We good. We're
right.
Good.
Exactly.
Always.
Much love, y'all. Though I'm gonna head out.
All right. Peace.
Good night.
Definitely. I'm gonna head out soon too, though. I got like homework to do and everything.
Yeah, we said till 7, so you know this is about that time anyway. Look, we really didn't touch. We didn't touch on Jonathan Majors. And I think we might just have to have another conversation on that, like rather than just try to like pigeonhole it in. I'm gonna just say this really quickly. I don't even think that thing's gonna go to trial. I'm pretty sure with the evidence that they have that this stuff isn't even real. So I'm not even sure that, like, right now they just did a pre-trial hearing where it's supposed to be saying like, is this even worth the trial? I don't know that it is worth the trial. Like the person themselves is saying like, I don't see a reason to pursue this. Why the district attorney would allow them to continue to pursue this sounds kind of silly. So we're not sure. But all that being said, cancel culture, the beast, we really do need to start recognizing. One, you need to trust but verify. Like sometimes the accused, if you're the person that's connected. Two, I think we do need to start exploring what the causes are that would lead people to want to cancel people, sometimes unfairly. And I think we need to recognize the devastating impact that it has and that it is real. Because I feel like a lot of times people will gaslight you into saying that cancel culture isn't real, but then you have to tell that to like you did right, but you're not the only person. But that's a common thought, right? Because then you can see so many examples. You cannot cancel Dave Chappelle. You cannot cancel that nigga. He is uncancelable.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I feel like this, like you said, this particular topic needs a bigger, like as many people as we were supposed to have. It needs a big panel. I feel like it needs some vaginas in here. It needs some women in here and everything like that, so we can get their honest opinion and their voice on how they feel. Because that previous topic that we just had, I did the devil's advocate thing. I only did that because it felt like we were always, agreeing on this type of situation. Maybe we had some females in here, some women in here. They'll actually give you the real with it. It's a pushback. So, like you said, this is a very important conversation.
They would give me emotions.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. A lot of emotions, no logic. But it is what it is. But that's I would get canceled.
I'm gonna get canceled for sure. I didn't need to say that. That was a joke, y'all. Y'all better not cancel me.
You already know. But yeah, obviously this is a conversation that we need. It's big. It's big in the social right now in society. This is very big. To touch on something that Pons was saying earlier, I used to be I was in pickup. I was in pickup culture, right? I was pickup artist, New York City, and everything like that. And one of the things that they would tell you, or we would tell whoever we're training, is you've been living your whole life at zero, not talking to any females, not doing any type of social, nothing basically. So when you're going out, you have to do the most radical, the most crazy thing ever, bring it to 150, right? And then kind of calibrate down to 100. I feel like society right now was, all of these years, thousands of years of just believing men always and not believing women at all. And they're just like, they were, how do you say, I don't want to say anything crazy, but they weren't men at the, right? So women's suffrage, women's rights movements, everything of the 60s and, and now the new women's rights. Now it's believe everything women say. So now we're at 150. Cancel culture is part of 150. I don't know when we're going to calibrate down to 100, but it's coming. Because first, like I said, you got to start at 0, go to 200, go to 150, go crazy, get crazy, cancel everybody, and then kind of figure out where your footing is. I think we're going to get there. I don't know how soon we're going to get there, but it'll get there soon. I mean, Freaknik was in the 90s. They were fucking bitches out in Atlanta, out in the street. And now cancel culture is going back and be like, wait, that's not cool. There was cops fingering females in cop cars in the 90s. And now we're going back, making Hulu documentaries about it, canceling all of them. So
Tones, I worry that you're wrong in some ways about it going away, about it bouncing back. Everything else you said was dead on the money.
I don't think it's going to go away. I think
it's going to go to 100, go to an appropriate number. Go to an appropriate number.
Well, I worry about that too, because the problem is the cancel culture is so. It's like I said, it puts a spotlight on you. It's such a beautiful individualizing thing. When you look at other things that affect our culture, usually what makes them go away is the group going away. But what group is there to take away here? It's about coming out, saying some things, and all of a sudden you have quite literally possibly 100,000 plus people who all want to know where you're at. They all want to know your address. They all want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you eat. They want to know what you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that affects groups like feminism or something like that. It's something that anybody, you can take the most staunch Republican woman on the planet and you put her in a situation where she can get some money out of a celebrity for just making up shit. Nobody's going to know about it. Anybody would do that. It has nothing to do with political leanings. So it scares me that it's not going to go away and it's not going to go down. It's going to just become kind of like this weird enigma that we have in our society where, it's literally like the dystopia that we think of where the people with dark glasses come out of the closet and they take you from the airport and you're never seen again. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. And, is that shit ever going to go away?
I'm going to tell you right now, that was a mic drop moment for me. I feel like that was bars. I love the analogy, and I think it makes all the sense. It's how I've lived my life. Whenever I've been trying to pursue balance, and I think Yes, we can obviously, gracefully disagree. I do think that eventually things will start to balance out, and I'll say the
I hope
reason. Yeah, me too. And the way I think that this thing happens is it takes people introducing things into the atmosphere. People need aphorisms and things like that to believe in. I've not yet, and I'm not trying to suck myself, but I've not yet heard a single other person talking about trusting but verifying the accused when you have a personal
Right,
relationship with them. I've
right.
never heard someone voice that. But I would imagine if enough people heard that message, it would spark in their heads like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because all you heard was trust but verify. And it's like, well, that sounds like a good idea because people really do live their lives deontologically. And so I think what we have to do is we have to have these conversations where we actually voice and vocalize what these things are. So then people start learning how to think. Not too long ago, I wanted to start a series of shows called Let Me Think For You because I feel like people don't know how to
That's
think
hot.
legit. And it's like a lot of times, like they're just going with whatever someone told them, like, and then they just kind of just go with it. Whatever is popular at the time, I'll just accept that. Because a lot of time people have lives, they have careers, they have families, they have things that they cannot do to sit there and actually let me delve into finding out what the evidence is on the Jonathan Majors case. Who has the time to do that when you're working a
Nobody
job?
knows. They're not programmed to do it either. Like
Right.
one of the things that pointed me out to your content, I'll always remember is especially in the last year, like what, oh yeah, Fanatiq, like, what helped me like remember is watching you review Destiny content after you guys had a falling out. You're
Mm.
not sitting there going, wow, he's an idiot, he's so stupid, look at this dumb part, what a dummy, he's dumb. No, I mean, he's a smart dude. And when he says smart stuff, you're like, okay, yeah, that's facts. And when he says stuff that you disagree with, yeah, I disagree with that. And when he goes off like you say he does, you say, look, he's going off. The problem is when we're talking about this kind of stuff, we have these social feelings. Erudite calls them the fifis. Okay. We have these social feelings that we get caught up with things, and everybody wants to be right, even when they're wrong, even when they're right. So someone will come to you and say shit like, can you believe what's going on with this Johnny Depp situation? Blah, blah, blah. And at the time, maybe you thought they were right. But then they go off and start talking about, can you believe that Johnny Depp clubbed her over the head? And can you believe that he dragged her under his car and he ran over her 6 times and then put her in a box and deported her to Guam? Like, and none of that shit ever happened. But the problem is, while we do know that Johnny Depp's bad, so we don't want to disagree with this person right now because we both agree, right? Johnny Depp bad. But that minutia is the problem. That's where people really, really, it's where you're making or breaking people's lives. It's where all the shit matters, and nobody seems to care about that.
Sure.
You, Fanatiq, you're the exception for caring about that.
Also, to y'all point, no one's doing their research. You know why? Because research isn't fun. Charlemagne says something. I let you know all the time. Exactly. Charlemagne says, no one cares about the truth if the lie is more entertaining. So no one's going to you see, no one's gonna fucking care about Johnny. Like, oh, Johnny just sent her off to Guam. That's fun. Let's talk about that. What else did Johnny do?
It's fun. Yes,
cool.
Perfect way to put it. It's fun.
It's fun. People care about fun. People care about instant gratification, and people care about releasing them endorphins. And that's all people care about. They don't care about. They don't want to do research. That's work.
And that's why I have no sympathy, because you're just trying to get the nut out. That's all you care about.
Exactly.
Like you're just sitting here going like, oh, I care so much about the reward. You don't want to do any work for it. You don't want to have any social weight on it. You don't want it's like a NIMBY, you want the country to change, but you don't want anything anywhere near your neighborhood. Like, oh, you want to build a prison 5 miles down the road from well, fuck you, not in my backyard. And it's the same exact shit. We want to cancel people, but then you go, okay, well, what did they do wrong? Oh, well, you read the Twitter post, right? Well, did you read the Twitter post? What did he do wrong? Nobody cares about that. It's scary. It's not something, clearly, it's been like 5 or 6 years. It's not something that you can shout into people. There have been lots of people on the internet for at this point, probably close to 10 years saying hey, we need to verify. We need to verify. We need to verify. Nobody cares. It's not going to change. We have to fundamentally attack this differently. It's the only way. But with that, let's before we go any further, let's do closing statements so that we can kind of put a neat little bow on what we've got so far. So we'll go Tones and then Fanatiq, and just kind of give your closing statement. encapsulate everything, and then talk about where people can find you.
All right, well, I don't even know if I should actually give a closing statement because we didn't really do we didn't really do the panel or anything like that. But you know, just to touch on what everyone else was saying, um, you continuously have to do work, right? And doing your proper due diligence on situations, and you know, especially when it comes to cancel culture, people do cancel culture because they're just like Fanatiq said, like Upon said, like Eli said, everyone is just following, being followers. And if you do your proper research, more than likely you're gonna have a more grounded mind on how to approach things. And the truth, I don't want to sound corny as fuck, the truth will set you free, but I mean the truth definitely will set you free. I mean, the truth is the truth. You can't change the truth. So, you know, science, Neil deGrasse Tyson says science is science. Science is true whether you like it or not. Like the earth is round, whether you believe it or not. Like whether you believe it or not, science is science. And the truth is the truth, whether you believe it or not. Just keep seeking the truth. And maybe we could calibrate down to 100 from the 150 that we're at within the next 10 years. And you know, you could find me on Facebook, right? Because I'm nowhere else. Under Eric Killmonger Stevens because he's the fucking GOAT. And John Jacob Jingle Ivan Smith, if you want to come argue with me, and hopefully I'm not banned.
For sure. Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed this panel. I love it. I think, you know, the people here were able, and Eli, we were able to create decent content, even with just the four of us and just kind of discussing these issues. There were some funny moments, but ultimately it was a really good conversation. I want to say one of the most beautiful things that I heard tonight, there were two really things that stood out in my mind very heavily. One of them, when we were talking about the Harvey Weinstein thing, and someone and Pons made that correction that like, hey, they're not taking the easy road. Like he has their career in their hand. And Desperado Sensei, he said, when the easy road is the only road that goes into town, other roads are only a fantastical creation. And I thought that's so poignant and aphoristic and beautiful because in reality, that is exactly that situation. Those people in those situations know it's either this way or no way. And so then when you want to start talking about compulsions and you want to start talking about coercion, I think that's where you start getting into those kinds of situations there. So I think to blame these women with the Harvey Weinstein situation, I think is just kind of unfounded. Lastly, I think what was really beautiful and hopeful was the idea that a lot of times in society and in life, when trying to go to extremes, people will go from one extreme to the other extreme, and then you find the balance in the middle. And I think, what's his name, Tones, making that statement, it really resonates with me because it does give me hope to hold on to. The idea that cancel culture is here and it's effective and sometimes necessary. No one should want that to disappear. The idea that we can hold powerful people accountable and boycott their products and have collective bargaining against the elite to say that you will not do these things with impunity, I think is powerful. But we have gone too far. And we've started wielding that same cancel culture against the non-powerful people. And when we're encouraging people to cancel via Twitter and social media as opposed to the legal ramifications that should accompany some of these absolutely heinous acts, I think we have gone too far. The middle ground is for us to trust and the people that we know to verify and investigate any accusation made so as to be sure that these people aren't being evil people and be sure that harm isn't being done. That's what the middle is. That's the reasonable and rational approach. Any adult, if you really approach them with the idea that a person is innocent until proven guilty, then you know that immediately believing all women sounds ridiculous. That's it.
Thanks.
And you can find me at twitch.tv/Mr. Fanatiq, YouTube Ask Fanatiq, Spotify Fanatiq, and just watch this show, share it, and all of that stuff. Reach out to the people. Lastly, I'm sorry, one little quick tangent. Arturo Sanchez was canceled. I started trying to work on I helped clear his name in so many different ways, and I started trying to work on content, just to talk about the character of the man, to speak to just who he is. I got one man who was really willing to speak on that, by the name of Justin Wong. Asking all these people, you know him, you want to talk on it? Almost nobody will do that. They do GoFundMe's for him when he got bodied, like to actually like help him recoup all the stuff that he did for the community and the loss he had. Nope. There's never that rectification, and there's never that real support for a person who has been falsely accused. That's something that we can grow from. That's how we change.
Based. All right. Well, I'm pawns, just pawns. You notice that sometimes people turn off their brains. They're not paying attention to what you're saying or what you're doing. People turn off their brains the most when they're involved with things that they care about. Okay. People turn off their brains the most when it's the shit that they think does not stink for them. When they think they're right, when they think they're doing what's right, people are capable of the worst evils. It doesn't mean that you're always evil when you're right. It just means be careful. Okay. Exercise caution. When it comes to this, cancel culture stuff, you have to be really, really, really super ultra careful. People want to make all these statements. People want to get their feelings involved. You have to be careful to challenge claims, to always be factual. But remember that the people you're talking to, their brains aren't on. So you have to say very particular, very careful shit to make them think. You ever been to a job interview and they say, what's a time when you had to do this? And you sit there and you go, huh? You have to think about it for a second. That's you turning your brain on, okay? You have to ask the same questions to these people if you have any hope of ever stopping them from doing what they're doing. And that's all I have to say.
This thing's spitting, bro. Listen, I love y'all, man.
This guy's good.
Man, I'm telling you, he always is on point, man. Hey, this is good. I'm very happy with today's content. I'm telling you. I don't think you need 18 people. I don't think you do.
You don't.
Yeah, man. You just got to get the right people.
Well.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Escape and float into my